Excuse me.
Oh, can you read it first again?
Look up the sky.
Look up at the sky.
What do you see?
What do you see? Good job.
The
Stars. So down.
there is
Yeah.
and just light.
Having a 2-year-old that can read, I researched obsessively on giftedness, and these are the things that I never knew about before. They can be gifted in a lot of areas. We are all familiar with the intellectual giftedness, but what I didn't know before was a child, anyone can be gifted in an emotional, creative, or sensory, or physical, or existential way. They can be gifted in all of those at the same time, or some of those, maybe just a few of those. There are like 5 levels of giftedness depending on their like IQ, I guess. And it ranges from mildly gifted to profoundly gifted. Like the levels are like mildly gifted, moderately gifted, highly gifted, exceptionally gifted, and profoundly gifted. And the 2 of those, the exceptional and profoundly gifted people, they have so little to no literature. The gifted people make up just around 5% of the population, so there's not much gifted people to begin with. So the statistic of profoundly and exceptionally gifted people are so low. Some of the other things I found out, if the average person thinks in a step-by-step process, like there's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end, and they learn that way. Gifted people tend to skip steps, so they get to the end result more efficiently. They learn things differently. And with exceptionally and profoundly gifted people, they link things that aren't necessarily connected to what they are learning about. It makes sense to them and they learn that way. They can think of something that's totally unrelated to what they're learning, and they'd have like light bulb moments, eureka moments. Anyway, there's also the 2 E's, or twice in multi-exceptionalities. Those are the gifted ones that may excel in one or any of those areas that I've mentioned before, but also have maybe learning disabilities, autism, ADHD, or something, any other neurodivergences like health or physical issues. So they're different in a sense that they have something they excel so much in, and also something that hinders them with their progress. Yeah. With that said, parents of gifted kids have a hard time adjusting and finding solutions to some of the unique problems that they face with their kids, because their kids' brains are always on hyperdrive. So that means they can't really help but think a lot. So they have sleep issues. They need constant stimulation. They hate being bored. They can also be easily overloaded. Some of the things that parents may face with that is having a difficult bedtime and just hankering for any activity that will stimulate them. Also, just consoling them when they have meltdowns, because they get so overwhelmed in all of their senses. Like any loud noise, sometimes a weird texture could set them off, and their emotions are heightened. So that means they feel things more deeply than everyone else. They're usually more empathic than neurotypical people. And sometimes they have hyperfocus, so you can't get their attention sometimes when they're really, really busy or doing something that they think is really important. It's hard to get their attention and just make them do something else right at that moment. You have to say things in advance and stuff. And also their motivations can be different. So while the average kid can be motivated by doing well in class, and some of the gifted kids, they don't have that. They have something different that motivates them. They're perfectionists. So when they can't do anything perfectly or how they want it to be, they get meltdowns. Sometimes that can be difficult because you just want them to try out things and practice things, but their emotions get in the way. Also, sometimes they test you, not only intellectually, like testing your intelligence as a parent. They also test you in other ways, like they kind of become oppositional on purpose just so they can see what your limits are. Yeah, those are the things that we experience as parents with the kids, but just as parents it's a whole different thing. For example, other parents think that we're bragging. We talk about our kid being gifted and stuff, but we're just like sharing their lives. Some parents think that our kids are easily spoiled because when they do get meltdowns, it's like we're not teaching them how to behave, but we are. It's just that they're different and they experience things differently, and what sets them off is different too. Yeah, we can't really relate to other parents. Throw out the what to expect book because clearly they're not going to be on par with what that book is gonna say. They ask hard questions, like sometimes they have questions on morality, or they have questions on death, and like how do you explain that to someone so young, like a toddler for example? Sometimes you forget that they're kids because they behave like adults, and sometimes you forget that they're not capable of controlling themselves. Sometimes there are sources around the internet on giftedness, but actually there are a lot. I've been overwhelmed with the information all over the internet, but there aren't much parents sharing their experiences. They're more confined in like small mom groups because yeah, the bragging is a thing. They think we're bragging, and sometimes we are. You must admit we are sometimes. But we're more of just sharing their achievements. Like, why can't we brag about our kids if other kids can brag about like winning a soccer match, or winning a best in costume somewhere, or whatever? Like, why aren't we celebrated? Sometimes there are experiences where we need to converse with our husbands, for example, or other adults, and we can't do that because they can read what we spell. They ask hard questions. They find loopholes in your rules. They negotiate with everything, what they want, what you don't want to give them. So yeah, I guess maybe that's it. I'm not really comfortable with making videos of myself, so this is something out of my comfort zone. But anyway, I made this video because there's so little videos like this with real experiences regarding gifted children. So hoping I help anyone.